Coming up on AC 24/7, 6 more banks to keep an eye on as America's financial institutions are under the microscope. What you should know about your bank. Plus, we'll take a look at the changes being implemented in Louisville following the death of Breonna Taylor. And the Department of Justice is taking action against major pharmacy Rite Aid for their hand in the opioid epidemic, how exactly they played a part. Welcome to AC 24/7. I'm Stephen Walker. Economic experts say America's banks are healthy, but it's not looking good from the outside. One bank has collapsed, another shut down, and 6 more on the watch list. But economists say the instability is fueled by fear. Now it's up to the Federal Reserve to install calm. The Advocate Channel's Gloria Pasmino has more on the banking problem, inflation, and what it all means for you.
One bank collapsed, another shut down. Now Moody's has cut its outlook for the entire U.S. banking sector, just after the firm placed 6 banks under review for potential credit rating downgrades. But some economists say there isn't a looming financial crisis.
I do not see any pervasive problems in our banking system.
They say the volatility in finance isn't linked to insolvency or assets that are difficult to value, like it was in 2008. Instead, the concern is in part over uninsured deposits and long-term treasury bonds that have crumbled in value.
I do think fear is the big problem now.
Quick action from the federal government is momentarily relieving those worries. But many banks, especially smaller lenders, are facing pressure from continued interest rate hikes by the U.S. Federal Reserve.
The question is how persistent and how much more serious, if at all, will that instability be?
Still, the economy remains hot. And the Consumer Price Index for February, out Tuesday, reveals inflation is cooling, but still triple the Fed's target. Now, the Fed is at a crossroads.
They should just pause, take a look around.
Though Moody's says America's banking system is generally healthy, that sector and the economy are teetering on the edge as the central bank tries to keep everything in balance. In New York, I'm Gloria Pasmino.
Eggs are finally becoming more affordable from the grocery store. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, February's seen prices falling nearly 7% compared to January for a carton of eggs. Eggs still remain more expensive than they were a year ago, as the cost of eggs rose 55% in the last 12 months. A near record low unemployment rate, a strong job market, and customer spending. Off the top, these sound like great things, right? But it's making economists and the Federal Reserve nervous. At what point will the Fed be happy and let their foot off the brakes?
As the U.S. unemployment level has hovered around record lows, ticking up to 3.6% for February, it's been causing inflation to skyrocket.
The tighter the job market, the stronger the pressure on employers to boost wages and lift their own production costs.
And causing the U.S. Federal Reserve to raise interest rates to try and tamp it down. Gary Burtless, a senior fellow in economic studies at the Brookings Institution, says over the past few months, there has only been around 1 unemployed worker for every 2 jobs available, intensifying inflation more rapidly than we are used to.
That is why the good news about unemployment and new increases in the number of people who are employed will result in pressure on the Fed to slow down the economy and reduce price pressures, wage pressures that tend to be contributing to inflation in the economy.
So when will the Fed be happy and take their foot off the brake? Burtless says the sweet spot is around 5% unemployment and 2% inflation.
Major changes in Louisville, 1 week after a scathing report on the city's police department. The mayor says an agreement has been reached between the Inspector General and the LMPD to increase transparency. The Inspector General will now have direct access to body-worn camera footage. LMPD officers will also be required to attend witness interviews by the Officer Inspector General. This comes a week after a DOJ report launched after the death of Breonna Taylor revealed discrimination, racism, and the use of excessive force. Former President Jimmy Carter is asking President Biden to deliver his eulogy when the time comes. Carter began hospice care at his home in Georgia earlier this month. He's the oldest living president in US history at 98 years old. Carter is kept out of the public eye due to health issues and the recent coronavirus pandemic. Biden visited Carter at his Georgia home back in 2021. The Department of Justice is suing Rite Aid for allegedly violating the Controlled Substance Act and aiding in the opioid epidemic. According to the lawsuit, the DOJ says from May 2014 to June 2019, Rite Aid knowingly filled unlawful prescriptions for controlled substances with red flags. The Justice Department claims these prescriptions were issued illegally and without a medical purpose. The combination was known as the Trinity and consisted of excessive quantities of drugs like fentanyl and oxycodone. The complaint also accuses Rite Aid of intentionally deleting internal notes about suspicious subscribers. The Environment Protection Agency is proposing new water safety regulations. Under the new rules, water systems would have to have monitors for 6 specific forever chemicals called PFAs. Those are synthetic chemicals that can cause serious health issues and linger in the body and environment. The water system would have to notify the public about levels of PFAs in the water and reduce them if they rise above allowable levels. It is the first time chemical standards for the safe drinking water since 1996. Water-related disasters such as severe floods and long droughts have intensified over the last 2 decades due to climate change. That's according to a new study. NASA scientists found higher global temperatures were to blame for increasingly frequent, widespread and intense floods and droughts. As climate crisis accelerates, the indication is that the events increase. The study comes as California is slammed with its 11th atmospheric river so far this season. The storms are bringing torrential rainfall and snow to a region that has been struck in extreme drought for years. The US government is launching a new program to protect organizations that are susceptible to ransomware attacks. The program is designed to minimize the impact of hacking against commonly used software and identity organizations that are exposing important information on the public internet. The Biden administration is making a strong push about the threat of ransomware, which has affected schools, hospitals, and cost organizations billions of dollars. Officials have also sanctioned cryptocurrency exchanges, arrested accused perpetrators of attacks, and warned broad sectors of the economy to raise their cyber defenses. Overall payments of ransom are down. Criminal groups continue to claim US victims on a regular basis. Crash test dummies might be getting a diversity makeover. The Government Accountability Office says the replicas do not adequately represent all demographics, including older individuals and women. Among the issue, the crash test dummies do not have sensors to collect data in the lower legs. The lack of some physiological differences between men and women device body shapes and size are not represented, and when it comes to weight, the report notes the average adult male dummy is 171 pounds, but the average adult male weighs more than 191 pounds. Each year, Equal Pay Day shows the disparity and illustrates the impact of the gender pay gap. On average, men are paid more than women, and breaking that down in terms of time shows the average full-time working woman has to work about 2.5 months more than the average man to bring home his previous year's salary. The pay gap has slowly been shrinking over the last 2 decades, but in good news, it now arrives about a month earlier than it used to. Thanks for joining us for AC 24/7. For more, go to advocatechannel.com and subscribe on the Advocate Channel YouTube page. For the Advocate Channel, I'm Stephen Walker.